Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first AMA with the First Space Lord. And here is the Fleet Admiral of the Red, Laura Locken. Oh, they're not hearing you. I'm not sure why they can hear me and they can't hear you. It's all going out the same. 1 second. All right, try it now. Nope. No, it's on my end. Hang on. Well, it was working when we tested it. I don't know what happened now. Give me once. Well, you're coming over my mixer, but for some reason it's not coming over the. All right, say something now. No, apparently not. What's funny is I can hear you perfectly fine on my end, but the system is just not Well, no, I have it blacked right now. All right, try now. Nope. I see you coming across the mixer just fine. So weird. Yeah. There we go. How about now?
Is that better now? Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Oh, yay! People can hear me.
All
That
right,
wasn't too
start
bad.
again.
Start again. So said such great stuff. Actually, what I started out with was I really wanted to address the fact that we found out this morning that one of our members has passed away, Lanny Kenton, Captain Kenton. He worked for Buplan, and I got to know him at SpikeCon, and I've gotten to know him online. He was a really important part of that bureau and of TRMN, and we just never love to hear about losing members. But you know it happens, and I just want to say, how wonderful he was, and how wonderful he was for the organization, and how much effort he put into the organization. He was a very special person, and I'm, hearts out to, yeah, hearts out to Buplan right now for losing a valued member that I know they cared about a lot, and that we all cared about. So, anyway, I can now go on to answering questions. Looks like we have quite a few that are coming in Discord, which is great. Um, Mike, do you want to feed me the questions and I'll just answer them?
Sure. The first question actually comes from the Command Senior Master Chief Petty Officer of the Bureau of Ships. What are some goals for the org and your office for 2020?
Good question. Leave it to Lori to put out a really banger question first time. So the big goals that I have this year are really about communication, about engagement, and about bringing more connection between our leadership and our members. Some of this, getting the Discord started, doing these live AMAs, doing the videos. Um, Thanks to both my communications officer and my deputy, are doing a fabulous job putting these together. We're trying to sort of bring TRMN a little bit closer together as a group. We're all just volunteers doing this. Some of us are doing really important work at the chapter level, and some of us are doing really important at the leadership level. So that's one of our big goals. Excuse me, is just communicating better, getting more information out. Another big goal is getting our policies out and available to everyone. One of the AOs that went out last year was our putting out policies and standard operating procedures to kind of replace our AOs and NDs and all these orders that we have out there. We want members and our replacements even to be able to look at what we do now and go, oh, that's how it works, and have it be perfectly clear and perfectly understandable. That's going to take some time, so I hope people will be patient, because not everyone is as adept at putting these things together, so they have to kind of figure out what are the tasks that they do and how can they write those up so everybody can understand. The other benefit to that will be that we will have them be changeable, so it won't be an order we have to reissue. It will be an updated SOP or policy, so that should be helpful to our members to understand how we work. So rather than kind of digging around and having to ask questions. The other one is a big one, is to replace the Black Sphinx Cup with something a bit more, I guess, brings people together rather than makes a big competition. So I have a couple people working on that as a task force to try to figure out some options for that. Mike Garcia, my DSL, is one of the people leading that. And then the final kind of big initiative is to get our wiki updated and available to members so they can look things up and use it as an information source for history of the club, current information in the club, for accessing people. It's a really great resource, so we hope to use it in a better way. So we're working on that. So hopefully that gives you some idea of what we're kind of looking forward to this year.
All right. Our next question is from Peter Gold. He asks, do you have a recommended reading list aside from the Honorverse books that you think apply to your job as First Space Lord, as opposed to, say, Second Space Lord, who will likely have some sort of book on marketing or convention planning on her list?
So a lot of it's really hard. I could probably come up with one and post it on my page, which would be kind of useful. The biggest thing is probably that a lot of really good leadership stuff out there, and you could do a lot of great research online for practical leadership. I think the biggest thing is being able to communicate your ideas correctly and understandably. Um, using empathy and being emotionally intelligent, because we're really a volunteer organization. So you really can't put yourself out there as I'm in charge of you. You have to be able to lead as a person that is doing the right thing and bringing people along with you. You have to encourage people, so you have to understand some of those leadership skills. And honestly, all of those are great for any kind of organization. We run our organization a little bit corporately than others because of the way that we're structured. So we do, you know, like to keep a handle on things like micromanagement, do their jobs. But really, if you really want me to, I'll be happy to try to come up with a list so we could actually put that somewhere. But off the top of my head, I've read so many things and done so much on leadership because it's kind of part of my regular job that I think I just sort of uh, brought some things along by osmosis and just being the age that I am and learning my lessons sometimes the hard way related to working with people. So, but I will be happy to put that together if people want it.
The next question comes from the Second Space Lord. What is the hardest part of being First Space Lord to such a large organization, and what real life skills do you utilize the most as First Space Lord? I think you kind of touched on that
Kind
already.
of touched on that, but the hardest part I'm going to say is I mean, I love that we're online and I love the different options because I'm willing to get on there and kind of get to know people. I feel like that's a really big deal. Meeting members, getting them to realize that we're just people here. We're just doing our thing. We're just trying to make the organization better. And not everybody's perfect. So sometimes we make mistakes. So I think it's also really the real life skills I use the most is my people management skills and my communication skills. Um, I really think communication is key to any of these leadership jobs and being able to understand when you need to say things and understand when you need to step in and when you don't and let people, let things play out is really actually important. Also understanding that people are volunteers and, it's frustrating when people just disappear, but it's going to happen and we have contingencies for that. So hopefully they'll come back to us. Hopefully we'll draw more people. But really, and it's also incredibly hard in a large organization like this to encourage people to get engaged in even minor leadership roles. Everybody in this organization started somewhere and moved their way up just by doing it. And it's a great place to learn how to do it. It's a very friendly environment for becoming a leader that you could learn things from this that you could use in your real life in your job. So I think jumping in and trying some stuff out is a great way to go. People will certainly provide a cushion for you, and especially if you say, hey, I've never done this before, can I get some guidance? I think people are quite engaged in just, hey, look, a person who's willing to help, that's awesome. We'll teach you what to do. So that's basically it.
All right, from First Sergeant Jenner, he asks, any suggestions for an enlisted wanting to eventually go officer and run their own ship?
That's great. I think just learning the organization, just seeing what's going on, if finding out who is out there. I mean, obviously, the big thing we say to people is, recruit your ship. Don't take other people. But I think really the best thing you can do to become an officer and a leader in this organization is to just take on some things to do. Learn your chapter, do things in your chapter, kind of become a leader in your chapter and understand what that means to take on that leadership. Understand, talk to your, if you're looking at doing that, either a ship or if you're looking at staying in, the Marines or whatever, talk to that leader in your group and say, hey, especially people that you've seen around you that do it really well. If there's other ships that you've watched or other chapters or other Marine Mardettes that you've watched and said, I really like the way they do business. Talk to their people. Ask how they do it. That's the best I can do is just really get to know the organization and start to think about how you might do that. I really say that's almost better to me than just jumping in and saying, I want to start a chapter. Because those of us that ended up doing that, which is what you did in an organization when I joined, there was 300 people. So, the idea was to bring more people, bring more people. We're kind of at the point where we love new members. We really want that they're the lifeblood of our organization, but we also want chapters to be healthy. We want them to have people that are engaged. So I think it's really important to think about your chapter and what would you do, what would be like the identity of it as you started, and that's when you're going to draw people. Like, we have chapters in our area in Minnesota that do events. We have chapters that prefer to do gaming, and everybody sort of engages in those chapters differently. So it really depends on what your interests are as a possible chapter leader, and find people that like to do that.
All right. The next question comes from, again, the second Space Lord. What convention are you attending this year, if any? And are you really the first party lord?
Thank you, Diane. No, I do have fun, but at this point, I know for a fact that I'm going to be going to Baycon because my ticket's already bought, and that's going to be an Admiralty House event. We're really pushing that if people are in the area or if you want to come to a great city, come join us in San Francisco, and we're looking at kind of pushing that convention this year as a gathering point for members. So that's a great place to look for. You've got until May, no, Memorial Day weekend. I don't know why I say Labor Day. Um, and yeah, Mike's encouraging. Oh, yeah, so is Diane's encouraging. Mike's encouraging. People encourage people to come. And I am also probably going to try to attend a couple of things locally. We do have Convergence. If I'm going to be in town for that here in Minnesota, in the Minneapolis area, and then I have promised Jeff Strayer that I'm going to try to get to WendyCon this year. So right now, that's what I know for sure if I'm going to try to do. And sometimes they just pop up, opportunities just pop up. So I don't know. I might get to other cons, but I have a child in college, which we're paying for, and that gets limits me a little bit on how much travel I can do. So that's what's going on there. And I do enjoy going to the parties, but I don't know if I'm the party lord. That would be Diane, I think, is the party lord. Yeah, New Essex.
All right. Next question comes from the 8th Fleet Commanding Officer, Admiral Mountain View. What are you going to do differently than the last two first Space Lords to set you apart?
So many answers to this question. However, I'm going to stick to really what I think I'm going to be. What's different about me is probably my communication style, and my interest in really growing the office. Um, I think, with the first couple of Space Lords, there's a lot of organizational growth and maybe policy decisions and things like that that were being made. And while that's happening now, I think generally it's probably more about managing the people in a more positive way. Um, so what I'm really trying to do is kind of make this office a little bit more friendly, a little bit more open, a little bit more available to people. After all, in most ways, I represent the RMN, but I also represent the whole organization because my office does manage the fleets, which we do have quite a lot of different groups in there. And also manage the Space Lords. So that does put a lot of burden on me to work with the whole organization, and I do, and try to work with different branches. There was a lot of a burden on the other space lords to grow the organization. So I think at this point we're in a good place, and I can focus a lot more on the health of the organization, and that's where my skill lie is organizational health, organizational community, and keeping an eye on what's going on. So,
And I think we've come to the end of the first set of questions, at least.
woo.
If anybody has any, although Diane says that she learned from you
Oh,
about being
the
party lord.
partying. Oh yeah, whatever, whatever.
If anybody has any more questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, it's going to be a short AMA.
And we're done. No, I don't know. Well, I think Bob's typing. Do we have anything on the? Don't have anything on the AMA page, right?
No, nobody's
No.
come in on Facebook yet.
Okay.
Wait. Don't tell me.
Wait. I'm not leaving yet. Let's
A
see.
lot
We
of
could.
people typing. Holy moly.
Oh yeah. I know. Oh my gosh. No, we got a lot more. Okay, we got people. We're good. We'll keep it
Yeah.
going.
We got Peter,
So,
got James Jones is here, and
hi, James.
got a lot of flag officers here.
As if they can't ask me questions. They don't always ask me questions.
Peter would like to know, is there any particular public reason, and I don't know why there needs to be a private reason for this, that we
That's a
have
private reason.
that we
I'm
have
not telling.
that we have started using Discord?
Hi, Jill. So I think part of it sort of it's been more organic, the growth into Discord. Partly one public reason that we're using other available options. My deputy space lord is no longer on Facebook, so that makes it really difficult for me to do business with him, and he has very fair reasons to be on Facebook. We also one of the things I find about Facebook is it's kind of fun for back and forth engagement on some levels, and it's really great for sort of social stuff. But it's really hard to get to know people. I mean, I found when I've had I guess the biggest thing is when we went in and the first thing we created, one of the first things we created was the House of Lords channel because we had people that were unavailable to be on Facebook. Either they left or they didn't want to be, or so we're like, hey, we need another communication channel, and it was available. And we found it to be incredibly engaging because we were all in our own little place. It was all TRMN people, and you could pretty much put a room together to chat about anything, and it was as invasive as just spreading it all over the Facebook page all the time, or not being able to talk about something because we need to keep kind of this is a public facing page. We need to keep it about the same about TRMN or about whatever. So I guess it's just really been an organic growth. People have really taken to it. I hope to bring more members on, and I think it opens up another channel. It's more chat wise and everything else socially engaging than the forums. The forums are fine for asking questions. They're not going to be a social engagement location. So I think Discord opens up another option for people who just don't want to be on Facebook, and that is not a small number of people. So I think that's probably what the main reason was. It's really just sort of grown organically, and people seem to like it. So we're just going to keep doing it. Opens up another place for them to get to know those of us in leadership
The next question
too.
comes from the Deputy High Admiral James Jones. He is asking, how do you see that the other branches can become more visible as their own entities and flavor?
I think just put yourself out there. I mean, I know that the GSN sort of is our next to, but besides the RMMC, is sort of our next to largest group and has been out there on Facebook and doing their own thing. I think the best thing I can say for branches to get more engaged and get more seen is to get people more involved in organizational structure things. Get into some leadership positions, not just in your own but have conversations about what do you want to be to the organization. I mean, you can be fun. You can have your own sort of flavor as a group. With the Andermani having the whole German, Indo, German Chinese type background. The Graysons have kind of been known in our organization as being kind of a fun group. Um, I think though that the more you engage yourself in the organization as a whole, the more the whole organization will see you. It'll see more Graysons out there doing things. It'll see more Army out there doing things. It'll see, obviously build your own part of the group. That's first. So start, making your part of the group really strong. Um, Create your connections to the different bureaus. Create your connections to, you know, we've got people obviously on the Royal Council and talk to each other, but I think just get out there talking, get more people showing up and doing things. I guess is one of the ways. I don't know, Mike. Do you have any thoughts about that? I mean,
about
I about
how
the
to.
what James asked about other branches becoming more visible as entities and flavor.
Well, I think representation matters in all things, and I feel like there's definitely certainly when you became first Space Lord, I think that there was a definite policy shift to try to include more of the branches in representing. For example, we have a Marine Space Lord now, which has never been done before, but we were able to bring that, kind of bridge that gap a little bit and say, yes, it's perfectly acceptable for somebody who is a member of TRMN to remain a Marine and still be a Space Lord. I would love to see a Grayson Space Lord at some point, or a Havenite Space Lord, or Andermani Space Lord, to
I
just
think
be
I
inclusive.
do see that coming down the road at some point. I also see kind of Mark's idea, and he could answer this if ask it, but an idea that really we want those people to be growing their branches too. I mean, for as far as leadership goes, I'd really hate to pull somebody into a space lord position that could really be used in the high admiral's office. But once we get the different branches to levels where there's just people available to do things, I could see that growing a lot, actually.
That would be my response to that. Uh, so again, from the Eighth Fleet CO, you have a background in training. TRMN training for captains, I assume chapter COs, does not actually include stuff about how to run their chapter, rather general leadership. Should there be a course on training captains to be captains? I've had to coach a large number of my skippers on awards. Shouldn't this be covered in some sort of academy course?
Yes. And I know that Butrain has been working leadership options. And if I could certainly direct the Sixth Space Lord here to talk about that if we need to. But I think there is a leadership academy in the works, and some of that is going to include courses on not just sort of leadership and all of that, but also courses on how are you a captain in the TRMN. I think one thing that's going to be incredibly helpful is having bishops publish their CO manual out there with a lot of good advice too. And I hope that getting more of our policies and procedures out there for people to access gives somebody like you a chance to say, here's a list of stuff for you to read, and then let's talk about, talk about being a captain, what you need to be. I think actually, if we grow the organization, what we're doing is we are having people like our first sergeant general out there saying, what do you suggest I do to be a better captain before they become captains? We're always going to have people though that want to jump in head first and start a chapter and all that. So hopefully we can, as leaders in our own fleets, leaders in our own task groups and task forces, be those people to mentor. I mean, we're going to have to do some of that. And I do know that Bishops has a mentorship program, and we need to really push on that and start taking a look at how we can use that better. I know that working kind of maybe with Butrain on that. So,
So the,
Cheryl, thanks.
yeah,
Let's see. When we're done here, we'll leave. Does that help?
I
Probably.
was wondering if you wanted me to read
Mhm.
that one.
I know.
The next question is coming from Anson Moody. She asks, "What would you say is your favorite part of TRMN as a whole?"
My favorite part is getting to meet people. Like when I actually go to a con and meet all these people. I have found that everybody that I have met, um, it's just been the same people that I've met online. So that's been really fun to just actually get together with people. The cool part about it is the engagement that we have worldwide with everybody, and being able to engage online and being able to really have sort of a personality as an organization online, which I think helps everybody be a part of something. But I guess overall with TRMN, it's just been meeting a lot of really cool people. I think these books pull really cool and interesting people, and thanks to David, there's some really great characters, and people identify with honor in the characters. And I think our organization is built after that kind of mentality. And I think the people that join and the people that are a part of it really see that we have a lot of vitality there, and that we are, not just not just trying to, have a social club or whatever, but we're really actually trying to do something. I see so many people doing charity work. I see so many people doing, reaching out immediately on something. I think it's just our family atmosphere is really what is my favorite part of TRMN. So coffee, James, but I will be drinking tea later after the wine, probably.
All right, that's so far. That's the we're back to the end of the line of questions so far.
And I agree with you. I do, but just they're saying our younger NCOs as well. And yes, I am going to be talking to our SPAC pond about possibly, the leadership program actually, um, hopefully will help with bosuns and things like that. But it would be great to engage some of our people that are looking to move up, maybe in the enlisted side, and really create leadership in that side, because we really push that a lot. I think it's great how valuable our enlisted personnel are in this organization as well.
I think we show that by providing separate recognition. Like one of the things I really appreciated about being a bosun or being an enlisted was the fact that there were a segment of awards that were only available to enlisted that you could
Right.
wear with pride by saying, I made a difference as an enlisted before, say, somebody gets picked upstairs as a commodore, you know, to take on a billet in a bureau. And so it's like Chris Thompson wears the Osterman Cross because he won it as a I think as a petty officer before he became an officer. So it's stuff like that that I think is really cool. The
Well,
senior NCO ribbon, the Navy
yeah.
Star.
Hi, this is my cat. I told you she would come and visit. This is Ziggy. She will. Yes, she'll be cute. So everybody can see cute kitty. It's about her time of the morning to come be cute, especially if I'm on. Okay, here we go. Okay.
I'm used to it because I see it.
Yeah,
I see Ziggy all the time. But
Hey, look, we have a question that's answered by RHN Admiral Dennis. Melissa so she says, I can answer your question. A mentorship works to do just that for Mountain View. So, yeah, she's cute. Now she's gonna lick herself and just generally make herself comfortable. But usually she's on my shoulders looking at you. So this time you just get to see her ears.
oh, dang.
Yeah, she's kind of in a mood right now. Stop it! Stop it! I'm gonna
All right. Well,
dump
if
you.
anybody has any questions, you have an excellent opportunity of hearing the answer immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah. But did you get a chance to watch the last Fast Five video?
Me?
Yeah.
The Matt one?
Yeah,
Matt
Matt
Parker?
Parker's.
Yes, I did. That was great.
I thought it was I thought it was really interesting. It was hard to cut because
Yeah.
that whole interview was like 45 minutes,
Yeah, and
and
all very interesting,
it was
I'm guessing.
all super
Like,
interesting
we
info.
really wanted all of it, right?
Yeah. But it was I think I ended up cutting it mostly because I didn't want to necessarily get into the intricacies of being or what the various JAG billets, which didn't seem
Right,
that's not really
right.
getting to know Matt. That's getting to know, the that's getting to know more about all the nooks and crannies
Yeah,
of
interesting
the
to the
JAG office.
job.
So
Yeah, and the other that's another very unique thing about TRMN that I really love is the development of that office. And I mean, I gotta say, a lot of the development straight to Matt and his skills as a communicator, his understanding of the organization and of what we're trying to do here. And he just, that office has just become a great way to deal with problems. And I really encourage people to reach out to an ombudsman or to um, go to the JAG office if there are problems because like I said, we try, even though we have 6,000 people, to manage those negative situations. And I think it's important all the way down to, hi, well, okay, no, um, always important to understand that you have an outlet for problems. Okay, you're going on the floor. And she's like ready to play. So, an outlet for problems. You're never stuck. If you can communicate with view ships if there's a chapter problem. You can communicate with the JAG if there's a personal problem, or just find out more information about uh, the way the organization works. So I find that to be a great resource and a really good. It helps leadership stay out of problem solving things that might put us in conflict, personal conflict. If one of my space lords does something that to someone that there's an issue, if I were to just deal with it directly, it looks a lot like conflict of interest or personal conflicts. It could look like I'm being too easy or it could look like I'm not. So bringing those types of situations to a board of peers or a board of members to take a look at it makes it a lot fairer. So I think to the member that's maybe being accused of something or that's having problems, or to that member who had a problem, they at least get to see it in action that we're working on solving. So that I think that's a really great part of the organization too. So yeah. How's everybody liking those videos? I hope they're fun.
I
So
don't from the
I get
analytics,
a
it
lot of
seems
positive feedback.
pretty. Yeah, it seems pretty well received. I'm just hoping that we can make to 100 subscribers at some point.
Yeah, please. I mean, we have 100 subscribers to our page now. Join the YouTube page.
Yeah.
YouTube
Uh,
likes us when we have more stuff. So we keep putting stuff out so that YouTube likes us.
Peter has asked, out of the 6,000 members, do we have any idea as to how many are active? That would be in terms of having attended a local ship event, convention, taken an exam, or even posted in the forums, FB pages, on Discord, or anything else. That'd be hard to track, wouldn't it?
It would be hard to track. I guess my guess is going to be maybe a third of those people. That might be high. I don't know. Um, we do have, I mean, clubs like this have the disadvantage of having, well, I mean, advantage and disadvantage. They provide something for everybody. So there's the people who just want to come online and engage with people or just lurk in the background and watch what's going on. They have people who are like, hey, I want to support you, but I really don't want to do anything. And that's fine. If we're free, so it doesn't we're not really, requiring engagement. I think it's up to us to create spaces where people can engage more. So, hence the Discord and things like that. I've actually think I've met more people that I haven't known about or, known from Facebook on our Discord. So I guess it's really hard to, it's really hard to quantify that, but it certainly is, it certainly feels to me like every area does have a pretty decent cadre of engaged people, even if it's not everybody. So I guess it's up to us to try to engage. And there's gonna be people that joined back when I mean, we have a very large convention there. We had a party room at a time. People would just sign up because we were a lot of fun and then never show up to anything. So I think we have more knowledge about that now than we did in the past. I think we were really in a growth period and it went really fast and people were just signing people up and now we have a larger understanding of what happens when you just sign people up randomly and they don't show up to anything or do anything. It just ends up creating a lot of work for you as an organization that you got to track people and make sure they're, promoted and they may not give you back anything and that gets frustrating. So I don't know about numbers, but I'd say certainly we probably have varying degrees of somewhere between, 20 and 30% of the organization that really does stuff. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I would
and as,
sorry.
Diane says for the second space lord says that, we're working on ways to try to encourage people to limit ghost members while so that moving forward, we're giving people a lot more. They beta tested 2 ways, so that's pretty cool of getting member engagement. So, like to make sure that you're recruiting people who really want to be a part of the organization and do things, which is really what you want to do when you're recruiting for a chapter. So, I encourage slower growth in a chapter. Get a group of people that you do things with and enjoy stuff and like books. Hi Wayne, and just try to grow your chapter with people that you think are going to bring something to your chapter is really how I look at it.
All right, next question comes from Captain Wagner. He actually has two. Are there any plans to make the Valhalla list public, or are there reasons we can't do that?
We had a discussion about this, and I think the biggest problem that we have is that um, the families of the people that are on that list are of varying degrees of interest in having people published publicly. We are having conversations around how to do that, but at this point, we just don't have that opportunity. So that might be one of those questions to ask Jag. We're in discussion about that. I just don't know a complete answer about how to do it with in a positive way without possibly offending somebody that just doesn't want that information out there.
The second question is, what's your favorite piece of swag from BUSEP?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. Um, well, I like the shirts, but these aren't. This one isn't, but we do have. I like the let's see, favorite piece of swag. I really like all the small stuff that we can hand out to our prospective members. Um, Pens and the lanyards. Everybody wears lanyards, and it's really cool because it sort of identifies as who we are, even if we're not wearing uniforms or we're doing something else. That person's wearing a lanyard with their con badge on it. You're like, you may be in a Star Wars uniform. So that's really cool. I think everything they're doing is great. Uh, I usually really enjoy seeing what's coming down the line from. Oh, I'm glad that the that we were able to fix the visual issues with the videos being kind of ready to send somebody into some sort of negative space there with there she's back. I am apparently her, not mine. Yeah, this standard. All right, now will you just lie there and be mellow, not try to.
No other questions. We
Oh, we've
still
got a
have
couple people typing, I think.
okay. We have 15 more minutes left.
Okay, no. Well, do you have any thoughts, Mike? Anything that you wanna say or
Oh, plenty to say,
Oh,
but this is for you, not for me. I'm
I know, but, we're kind of a
I'm
team
I'm
here.
just in I'm just in the background. I don't really.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, in response to an earlier comment about, you know, about the outreach and about involvement, I think the best way to combat against ghost members is really to ensure that you have as many avenues of communication open.
Yep,
And I think the there was a lot of problematic issues that arose with being very singularly Facebook, especially for our chapter in the Bay Area when there were so many other avenues. We had Twitter, we have Tumblr, we have and there's so many different social media options, and it seemed to me like when we said, "Oh, we have a Facebook group and we have a Facebook page," and then we were asked, "Well, what about your Twitter? What about Tumblr? What about all the other options," and we were like, well, we really don't have that, then that seemed to turn off quite a few people, especially those that don't like Facebook, don't want to have anything to do with Facebook. In equal measures, there are people that don't like Twitter or who don't like Tumblr. But if you were to engage in as many of those avenues as possible, then you're using those communications platforms to their full extent, and
yep,
that way you are as inclusive as possible. As I said earlier with the branches, we have so many branches now
yeah,
that representation matters, but um, that still helps to have that representation on those other social media platforms.
yep. Yeah, I mean, the challenge for us to where the heck do go with it? How many how do we manage it? Because you do have to pay attention to what's going on and leadership, so there's only so many of us. So the challenge becomes where do we focus our attention time? So, um, you know, that does get, for those I mean, like, my husband Bill, he is the CSM CPO plan and but he drives for a living and can't be online all day most of the time. So it limits how much he can, answer questions or, you know, deal with stuff that might come up. So it's kind of a challenge. You have a lot of this, a lot of the stuff we do is sort of connected to the online prospect too. So
Wow. Sorry, just reading some of the conversation. And Major Rage is correct. It is many branches but one family. But because I use this term a lot, but it makes the most sense because we have focused so much on tribalizing the family. Like we
yeah,
have all the different components in those we've essentially created. It's not all one big Navy. It's not all one big Marine Corps. It's Navy, Marine Corps, Army. Then you have the Grayson Space Navy. Then you have the Havenite Navy. You have the Andamanite Navy, and we're essentially pushing for more and more and more and more tribalization. And then when the smaller groups get left out because of the need to have those groups, I worry a lot about intentionally shooting ourselves in the foot by not providing the necessary avenue to include those people, include those
right,
members in the organization purely because they want to wear something different, they want to be part of something different. um and so I think in the very beginning, when I think we just had the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Army, and the Graysons. Um, that it probably would have been a good idea to just keep it at those four, moving forward until we get
yeah,
to a certain growth pattern. But then we started pushing for a lot of the different components, and then we have to work really hard to make those components grow at a rate that's going to fit within that 10-year plan.
right,
So, like I said, that I think
yeah,
that's my overall concern is that we want to make sure that they have the due success that they deserve, with all the opportunity that is out there for the larger sets. But when it comes down to it, and I'll mention this tangentially because coming out of Starfleet, and actually Leslie, so I want to talk a little bit about it in my Twitch channel, Star Trek Online. The biggest complaint is there's not a lot of Klingon content, but there's a metric ton of Starfleet content. or Federation content. And I'm like, well, because the show's about the Federation, in as much as the books are about the Manticore Navy. So everybody reads about the Manticore Navy and they want to be part of the Manticore Navy because that's the hero, that's where the hero does most of her work. And then the Graysons as well, because she's an admiral in the Grayson Space Navy as well, in quite a few of those books where she's shown being in the Navy. So I feel like the representation in the books almost certainly reflects the representation that we have in TRMN.
Yep. Yeah, generally, I agree. I do think to um, kind of throw in back to the Deputy High Admiral's question was, how do we raise the visibility? Actually, one of the things I've really pushed on some branches is to remind those leaders not to let their people get insular into their own little Facebook page, into their own announcements. Spread that information out. I mean, use the announcement pages, use the forums all together as a group, because how do I know that? I mean, I'm a leader in the organization. I don't know in another branch of the organization. And I feel it's incredibly important that people in those branches do create their own identity. But man, you can't do it in a little voice. It can't do it in a little tiny group. You've got to actually get out there and say who you are within the organization, because that's how you bring people in. Like, the more people are out there going, hey, I'm Grayson and I do this. What does a Grayson do? You guys sound like fun. I'm the army. There's an army. I mean, there's people that like come on and go. They're here for like 6 months, and then they go, oh wait, there's this other branch. So I mean, we do have to get that information out there, but I also think it's really important that those people in those parts of the organization put themselves out there and talk about their part of the organization. I mean, my job is really busy to talk about not only my part of the organization, but connect with parts of the organization. But it's not to recruit for, all the parts of the organization. The 2SL does that and creates an awful lot of material, but it's still up to the member to say, hey, this is what I do. So I really like that's the other thing I kind of like the Discord, see just even visually when people click on what color they are, what part of the organization they are, by their title, that's where they are. That's what they do. I can go click on them and say, oh, these are the different things they're involved in. So that is another benefit of this particular communication source, is sort of being able to, there's a little bit of possible role play involved because you can be your character, not your character, but your person in TRMN. But there's also like people know your role based off of how you're presenting yourself in the group here. So I think I've engaged with more people that I knew were parts of the other parts of the organization in here than I have anywhere else. Just because with Facebook, you're limited to your name. People don't always know who I am when I'm posting. So, you're kind of limited to your name. And here we're a little bit more engaged in our actual organizational stuff. So, yeah.
The next question comes from Rick. um, what's the story behind the name of your county?
Oh, my county? So I live in Minnesota, and I am a very beautiful natural wilderness area in Minnesota. Canoe, and actually it's called the Boundary Waters. Boundary Waters canoe area. BWCA, and it is all the lakes and waters and wilderness area that connect with Canada up north of us. So there's two areas of it, and you can you can accidentally cross the border by being in some of the northern lakes. But it is a really beautiful area that I've just always connected with and camped in and canoed in. So that's where it comes from. So hey, if you want to go someplace really cool, talk to me about that. But it's one of the few places you can go in, farther here to the east. I mean, some places out west and northern west is very wilderness, but it's one of the fewer places you can kind of go closer to the Great Lakes and stuff that's still very very much wilderness, and that you really can get lost out in for a while. So there you
Uh,
go.
Duke Duke of Mountain View is asking, there are dozens of social media platforms. Shouldn't we concentrate on just a select few to have an expertise? Otherwise, we threaten to spread ourselves way too thin and do nothing well.
I'm not against that, and Mike may disagree with me, but I I agree. I think we need to provide at least a couple of kind of what we're doing right now. It's why I haven't just jumped into, oh, let's all do this because I can't focus. So I'm not going to do something beyond what I can do. So essentially right now that's what we're. Um, we're not making Discord necessarily. Oh, this is our official line, unless people decide, hey, this is really working. Let's do that. But at this point, we are kind of basically here and on Facebook. But I don't know, Mike. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I don't know. I come from a different school, obviously.
Yeah.
I grew up on social media. This is kind of where I lived, so I see things a little differently than those who maybe didn't do who didn't grow up with the social media marketing background as I did. I worked for a radio station, so I did a lot of social media marketing for them back when like Twitter and Facebook were in their infancy, and so I understood like how like the strident differences between Twitter and Facebook. Like Facebook is very much about fire and forget, but Twitter's like about interactive conversations. Like in order for you to be a part of the community, you actually have to interact. And you might see that like from other companies, like Wendy's does a really good job of being an interactive element in the Twitter community, and so therefore they have a lot more like draw and reach with respect to that. So we kind of have to follow suit in terms of being a part of the Twitter community. If you are going to start a Twitter, and this is something that I've actually taught some classes on in other organizations, is that if you decide to do Twitter, you have to understand the philosophy of Twitter. There's a Tao to it, almost. And if you don't get that, then you're not going to be very successful at it. If you think of it as more of a, I'm just going to post something and not worry about the responses, or I'm not going to engage, then you're kind of doing it wrong. And that's where the expertise comes from. Tumblr is a blog. It's like live journal. So it almost has a very like kinship with Facebook. So like I said, it really depends on who does, how do you utilize it? But I think that um, there's a lot of opportunity there to expand. And with these new platforms that are coming out, like TikTok, and to a certain extent, Snapchat, if you know how to utilize that, the marketing possibilities, like free marketing, is incredible right now. And I just feel like
Yeah.
chapters, fleets, even TRMN as a whole could really, explode if they were to harness those opportunities the way that they're meant to be harnessed. And it is what it is. And I understand, Diane, that you're talking about uh, nobody knows who has what, but it's not about who has what. It's how many eyes can I put in front of what I'm marketing and get their attention to possibly join the organization.
No,
It,
I think what the 2SL is talking about is getting keys to our accounts because
oh,
that's
sorry, sorry,
how
sorry.
them. So we
Out
were
of
just having a
context,
little
a little
back
bit.
channel discussion on who might have totally happy to do some, outreach on social media. We probably need to look at those channels as opportunities to kind of outreach versus our main organizational internal, fun channels. I think there's a difference between what you can do with some of those, like we're using YouTube for. We're not going to expect. I mean, our YouTube is for communication with our members, but it's a little bit of the one way. And you can do back and forth on Twitter, but there's a lot of outreach you can do on that. We've used Facebook, we've used the forums, and MeWe is kind of an option for, we'll see where that goes. But I think the one that's really taken off the most that's not Facebook has been Discord so far. Because we already had groups that were like, hey, you guys should get on. Oh yeah, one more thing. And now we're kind of at that. All right, I think we can do one more thing, but I don't know. I think the social media office needs to be in the 2SL's office, not the 1SL. So that's where we're going to go with that. Thank you, Lori. You can just, if you want it, you can go talk to. I don't need
And I
more
think
things in my office. Thank you.
that'll do it. We are at the end of the hour.
All right. And feel free to, if people want to keep putting some questions on this chat, feel free. I'll take a look at it and try to answer things as they come. And I really appreciate everybody joining me. I hope that we had goes out to other people. We're going to post it, I assume, right, Mike?
Yeah, well,
Um,
it's actually a video on the YouTube page, so it'll
okay.
it'll it'll show up.
Yeah. So for those people who couldn't be here, make sure they know about it. We'll advertise that it's now when it's posted up there. And like I said, feel free to continue to ask questions. And as I am not in the middle of doing something, I will come and check them and answer them as I can. So, and my door is always open. Yeah, you are welcome for this AMA. We'll continue to do them, and I'm gonna hopefully encourage some other people to do them. Haha. So whether they do that live or whether they do that, in a chat or whatever, I really do encourage that to happen. And I do encourage my fleet COs to do that. I know that the fleet CO is planning on more chats like this, so that should be really great for the communication within the fleet. So I'm big on bumping up this communication line and our communication line with our members. So it's been great to talk to you guys, and we will advertise when we're having another one. Thanks a lot.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.